Hello again, this is Megan at Rocky Mountain Sewing and Vacuum. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Bernina Q24 Longarm quilting machine that does come on a frame. It is one of the best ones out on the market right now, I think, not only because it is super duper easy to use and it's got that nice Bernina quality, but it's also got that 24-inch throat space, which really makes it easier to get a lot more done with your quilts. Another just fun fact about this machine is that it is actually manufactured out in Switzerland as well. So most Bernina machines are just Swiss engineered and then built elsewhere. This guy has the Swiss engineering and is built in Switzerland in their factory, which I think is awesome. So let's get started. I'm going to start down by the needle here because there's a couple cool features that I love about this machine. First off is the needles that the Bernina Q24 series uses is actually going to be your standard needles, just like you use in your sewing machine. Of course, personally, I prefer using quilting needles, but as long as I've got those same needles, I'm good to go. The only thing, I would not recommend using Singer needles in a Bernina machine, nor would I recommend using a needle for more than 8 hours of sewing. You'll just end up hearing a lot of popping as you're sewing, and it can cause the needle to break, which can cause bigger issues down the line. Another thing that I think is really neat is the fact that the Bernina Q24 is actually equipped with the needle threader. So instead of having to lick my thread and struggle for 20 minutes as I try to put that little thread through the eye of that tiny needle, I can actually just get it going and get started as I'm quilting. The last thing that I absolutely love about this machine, it does come with some standard long arm quilting feet, but you can also use whatever feet you have for your Bernina machines at home. So like right now we've got a number 9 darning foot on there, but I've seen people use their 29 foot. I've seen people use their 72 ruler foot on here. You can really use all of them, which is fantastic. So it makes it very versatile and makes the feet that you have in your stash have a second purpose. As a person that's vertically challenged, there's a couple features that I like a little higher up on the machine, which includes how easy it is to thread, because it's just right here up in front. I can open this, make sure I'm going through all my guides properly. I also like the fact that the bobbin winder is right here, and it is loaded right on the front of the machine, making it really easy. I don't have to go find my separate bobbin winder. If my bobbin runs out, I just pop it on there, get it done, get back, and then I'm ready to go again. The last thing that I love, I myself cannot reach 24 inches over this long arm quilting frame, no matter how hard I try or how much yoga I do. However, it does have a hand wheel right here that I can push and actually move the hand wheel. So that way if I need to oil the machine or get something out of the bobbin area or just make sure that my needle is lined up exactly where I left off last time before I had to rewind my bobbin, it is in the right spot. So I love that all of those things are right up here, easy to access without me having to, climb a ladder to get there. This screen will look really familiar if you already have a Bernina at home because it uses the same interface, which is really nice. We have the black bar over here, I like to call it the black ribbon, that has our tension, toggling the presser foot up and down. Right here, this is a really cool feature that they do where you can add your personal settings. So if you have a specific brand of thread that you prefer, or you're working on a more difficult fabric like minky, or I've heard some people like different settings for batiks, you can actually program it and then pick it next time you're working on a quilt that's very similar to that, which is nice. It's also got a Bobbin Estimator here, so it'll kind of let you know when your bobbin's starting to run low. And then of course we've got our BSR button, which will flash red if I'm going too fast for the Bernina stitch regulator to catch up with me, or stay green if I'm on the right stage. Now, myself as an amateur quilter, we have this needle toggle up or down when you stop sewing. I like to keep it in the down position because I tend to jerk around when I'm not sure what I'm doing. So if I press stop and stop it, the machine won't show the stitches of where I jerked around, which is preferable in my case. Now, if you haven't heard of the Bernina stitch regulator before, it is basically magic by Bernina. What it does is it actually regulates the stitches and makes it look like you are really fantastic at quilting, because when it says SPI, that's stitches per inch, and it's going to make sure that you're doing 10 stitches per inch no matter what you're doing, where you're going, any of that stuff. Now, someone like me that's still in the beginning of learning how to quilt and everything, when we go around corners, those stitches tend to get really big and a little less pretty. So those stitch regulators are fantastic to work with. We do have 3 different Bernina stitch regulator modes. We've got BSR1, which is going to be like a cruise control, where the needle will just keep moving. We've got it set at 250 stitches per minute right here. This mode is really nice if you are trying to do corners or pebbling or some of those more advanced techniques. Myself, I tend to go towards BSR2, where the needle will stop when I stop. That way I don't hesitate or get those weird jumps randomly. And it's also a really good mode for ruler work, for when you get to the edge of your ruler and need to pause. And then BSR3 is a basting mode. So on here, we've got 1 stitches per inch, 2 stitches per inch, or 4 stitches per inch. And when I press them, you can see it changing right there on the screen. So basting on a longarm quilter is really nice when you're putting your top onto the frame. And then not to mention, if you have something that you want to, quilt around but still want it to be kind of down while you're working on that quilting, you can baste it and make it look really pretty. So also on the screen down here, there are going to be 4 different buttons here that are programmable. So when I show you the handlebars in just a second, you'll see that each of these buttons correlate to a button that's on each handlebar. So on the right side, we've got a single line and a double line. Excuse me, that's the left. On the right side, you've got a double line and then a single line. And what's nice is I can reprogram these buttons to be different things that make more sense in my brain. So if I were left-handed, I can change this button to be start stop if I want. And you can have multiple buttons doing the same thing, which is really nice too. I'm actually going to move that back to a tie-off, but on every single one of these, you have all those options, including making your stitches per inch higher or lower, doing 1 single reinforcement stitch, doing a tie-off, toggle your needle up and down, toggle your presser foot up and down, and then of course our start stop. Other than that, with Bernina, of course, we have all sorts of other settings on the machine that we can play with. My favorite would be in here where I can change the morning greeting, or the greeting when I wake it up to say, "Hello, Megan," or whatever I feel like. I can also change the background to a different color, so if I'm not a big blue fan, but I really like purple, I can switch to that one, and I can even change the pattern on it, which makes the machine more custom to me. And then, of course, we do have Eco Mode, which when I have to go run and do something really quick, maybe I need to figure out how many stitches per inch on this quilt or something like that, I can turn it on Eco Mode, which will turn the machine into like a power saving mode instead of turning the entire machine off, making it a lot easier when I come back to get ready to go. I've also got a manual button, which will give me quick little reminders on how to do things. So if it's been a while since I've oiled the machine, I can look it up in the maintenance section or any of that kind of stuff. It really makes it easy if it's been a while for me. And then these 2 buttons I think are great if you're a professional quilter. Because a lot of time professional quilters need a calculator to figure out exactly how big of a backing they need, or maybe how much binding they're going to need, or things like that. Instead of having to scurry around trying to find your calculator somewhere in your craft room or wherever you put your phone, because I don't do that at all. I don't know what you're talking about. You have the calculator right here on the screen for you. And then last but not least, we do have this one here, which is going to be how many stitches have run since the last time you refreshed. So I kind of like to call this a stitch meter, almost like an odometer on your car, that you can reset every new quilt that you have, so you can really calculate how much per inch you're charging or whatever you want to do. From here, I'm going to bring us back to normal, and I can't wait to show you how it sews. So you can see those little red lights that are there. That's showing me that the Bernina stitch regulator is doing what it's supposed to. And then I can just go around like there. I do have a little bit of a tail going. I'm going to get that out of the way. There we go. Keep going. Then we can go from there. Now, when you drive this guy, it is one of the smoothest longarm quilters that's out on the market, I think. So I definitely recommend checking it out. Other than that, I want to show you what those handlebars are about. Right here on the handlebar, you can actually see those buttons I was talking about, so the double line and the single line. On the left side, it is going to be the opposite, with the double line on the inside and the single line on the outside. So those are those programmable buttons that I can customize, which is great. The other thing is I can actually customize these handlebars too. So I've got a lever release there, kind of spins around sometimes, gravity, but you can move it in and out, and you can also kind of move the handlebar in and out as well. Probably noticed I can pop it all the way out. They actually make a really cool attachment for this as well called the Palm Precision Handles, which I don't actually have here to show you, but definitely ask about it when you come check this out because it is one of the neatest extra accessories on this guy. You can also, there's a little lever back here that I can pull, which, as you can see, can raise or lower it. So if you have your husband quilting for you and he's really tall, you can adjust it up here. Or if you're really short like me, you can adjust it even lower, like that. And then, of course, push that lever back, and there we go. Now I'm adjusted like that. It's also really nice to have that ability too, especially if you have shoulder problems or things like that, so that you can move the machine a little bit more easily for yourself, not to mention less strenuous on your own body. We do have one of these at the Aurora store that you can play with. However, if you call the Arvada or Littleton locations, they'd be happy to answer any questions you have on these guys as well. The Bernina Q24 Longarm quilting machine is definitely one to consider when you're looking at your longarm quilting needs, and I definitely recommend driving it because it is a whole other world. Other than that, I think it's just a really fun machine, and I hope you get to play with one soon. Thank you so much for joining me.